Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Roundtable here on ASU-TV, the official sports talk show for all things A-State athletics. I'm Tristan Harlan here with my good friend, my good colleague, my best friend, Cooper Melder. Cooper, how are you doing today in this beautiful day in J Vegas?
Well, the weather's finally heating up here in J Vegas, and it's got me feeling good. I'm ready to get the show on the road, and we got a good one for you today.
Yeah, Cooper, so starting out straight from the get-go, we got a little bit of basketball that took place over the weekend. Unfortunately, we suffered back-to-back losses in the Sun Belt, the men did, and now is the question begs, do we still have what it takes to win the Sun Belt and go on to maybe make a berth in the big dance?
Well, like we were saying, we can lose out. Realistically, we can lose out, go into the tournament, win it, and still make the dance. Now, we don't want that to happen. I feel like, they're in a part of the season. It's time to see who can really, see who's going to fight, see who's going to really push through, and see who's going to really back down. They're tired, they're exhausted. Basketball's such a long season. They've been playing since November, and it's already getting close to March. But I feel like if they can come together as a team right now, get together, have one of those meetings, inspirational meetings together as a team, and really fight through, I feel like we have two of the best players in the Sun Belt with Norchad O'Meara and Desi Sills.
Right, so you go back to those two losses, which the first game is on your screen now, a 2-point loss to Troy's final score 79-77. We were able to shoot better on the field goals, shooting 51%, Troy shooting 47%. And finally at the 3-point, we were able to finally get sort of the even-Steven sort of thing where they weren't killing us for three and we weren't killing them. This is kind of what we've been talking about all year, live and die by the three. But the free throws and the rebounds is something I really want to hit home on is Norchad O'Meara in the rebound category. He was at 1.6 in the entire nation. Not sure what he is currently. But, looking at those free throws, that's something you got to knock down. You got to knock down, sure, 18 for 23 is a good free throw margin, but you got to, I'd like to see it say 23 for 23, the rebounds as well. Playing a Sun Belt opponent like Troy, you got to get more rebounds than that. And you go down to the steals, you got to limit those turnovers on the offensive side, make sure you're not getting sort of giving up those sort of momentum shifting plays to where Troy is able to get the ball away from your guys and go down to the other side and score.
Well, it being a 2-point loss, a close one, when you break down the stats, leading in field goal percentage, tied at we shot better at free throws than they did, have the same 3-point percentage, more rebounds. But when you look at the final two stats, turnovers and points off turnovers, we had 3 more than them and they had 6 more points. We get maybe take away 3 of those turnovers and we win this game by 6. So when you play games, you got to limit the turnovers.
All right, Cooper, this wasn't the only game that the men's basketball team struggled with this year, as you see in the second game on your screen now. We played South Alabama on the road, and, you look at the score there, and it's just absolutely ugly, horrific. They beat us on about a score of 70-51. When it comes to the free throw or the field goals, we shot horrible. 51 South Alabama for our 33%. That's something you can't say. And just like we were saying about the last game, 3-point percentage. A-State, you got to make sure you're hitting your threes. I understand injuries has been biting both our men's team and our women's team in the rear end, but you got to make sure if you're taking these 3-point shots, you got to make them. Look at South Alabama. They made 58% of their 3-point shooters there, and they were able to beat us by at least 21 points. So you got to hit your threes. I get it in today's basketball, a 3-point shot is very prevalent in every offensive scheme that you see nowadays, from Coach Bellato, from any coach around the nation. But you got to make sure if you're taking these 3-point shots, if they're giving them to you, you got to knock them down. I don't care if it's on the wing or the corner or just from top. You got to make sure you're knocking down these shots. You look at these other stats now. The steals, we were finally able to really get more steals than the other team, and the assists, we weren't able to get a lot of assists off of momentum shifting things. Turnovers, we still struggled. Free throws, we went to the line more, but we didn't make as many as they did. They made 7 for 9. They only missed 2 of them. And you look at our free throws, and we missed a whole bunch more. So Cooper, like I said when we opened the basketball segment, what does it boil down to? What does Mike Bellato got to say to his guys and say, hey, the season's starting to end. I know you guys are tired. I know you guys are ready for the Sun Belt Conference tournament, but you can't let these easy wins slip away from you because, if you look at the standings are really slowly starting to come up as you're seeing now. At one point, we were at the tip top. We were at where Texas State is now. But now, due to the losses, we slipped down to the 5th spot right there in the middle. South Alabama, the team we just got beat by, they're ahead of us along with Troy, App State, and Texas State. So, Cooper, the question boggles. Does it come down to the point where not even just Mike Bellato, but Norchad, Desi, or somebody needs to say, hey, we need to have a players-only meeting to really discuss and break down what we need to do for the rest of the season?
Well, a players-only meeting is really something special. You don't have any coaches there, and you really get to, kind of go heart to heart. And I feel like they kind of need one after last game with just how they're poor shooting. Who's going to be the guy that's going to step up when the shots aren't falling? Who's going to be the guy on the bench, cheering you on? You come off after you just committed a turnover, be like, hey, it's okay, one turnover, forget about it, move on. But like we're saying, this is the time of season, players are getting tired, and this is when you separate the winners and your losers and winners and champions. And we want to be the champions. So if Norchad, Desi, I know Norchad, he's quote-unquote still a freshman, hoops-wise. If he and Desi get together, really bring the team together, talk to them, work extra hard in practice, this is when conditioning helps. You're running up in court all week, every game for past couple months. This is when the conditioning shows and shines. Who's going to be the team that's more fit, better, and just really going to take over? Because shots aren't falling, someone's got to step up.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, you go back to the beginning of the season when Desi was hurt, when he hurt himself in the scrimmage game. Desi was that guy, that player that was able to coach those guys while he was still on the sideline, while he was able to be the leader that, while Bellato was making calls on one side of the court, Desi was on the opposite side telling, hey, guys, make sure you're switching to this man, make sure you're playing hands up. But, it just boils down to at what point do these guys realize, like you said, conditioning is a key part of the end of the season. It separates your winners from your losers. But at what part does something finally come up where it's like, okay, Sun Belt Conference right around the corner. What can we do to elevate our game to go back to where we were a couple weeks ago when we were winning games? But, Cooper, now you want to take a look at the women, and that's just another story in itself. The women, they've been on a struggle sort of late. You're seeing the score against Little Rock, and we lost 60-40-55. We shot poorly from the field goal percentage and three-point percentage. Looking at stats, Little Rock shots 46% from the field. We shot 29%. I mean, I get not everything goes your way every night, but you can't have stats like this. You can't have percentages like this. You can't have 8 assists versus their 17 assists. You got to have an easy medium, a happy medium, if you will, to where you say, okay, we're going to do this week, then we're going to practice something else next week, and we're going to come back and we're going to do it all over again and really get our name back in the Sun Belt running.
Well, we were talking about it, they're down to 6 players with injuries, transfer portal. It's just a whole big ordeal with the A-State women's team right now. And, you don't like to see it and you hate to see it, but, right now, you just got to find that certain someone. Who's going to be the leader? A coach can only do so much. Who's going to be that leader in the locker room when the coach isn't there? Everyone's kind of, heads down. They're not really wanting to play. Who's going to be that leader? Who's going to be the leader on the court saying, hey, come on, you got the next shot. Keep shooting. You're going to make it, and when you do, you're going to catch fire. Who's going to be that leader? And I feel like that's something both teams are missing right now is, started off hot, you're feeling good, everything's going good, and now it's like, oh crap, we just lost back-to-back games. What are we going to do? Right,
Cooper. So, I mean, just like I said, look at the standings, and that'll tell you everything you want to know. Troy, right up there, number 1 with UTA, Texas State. Look, Arkansas State, once upon a time, was one of those 2-3 teams. Now they're down at about the 9th seed. And, the story that you didn't bring up that I kind of want to bring up to sort of hit something home is you got to look at the injuries. We played Little Rock with 9 players. And then I wanted to get it right. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. But then now looking at it, we only have 6 players that are eligible to play. We got a lot of players that are out with injury, and we just lost someone to the transfer portal. And now, she entered it, and she was like, okay, I'm done. See you guys later. And now she's looking for a new team. So at what point do you think maybe that affects the morale of the team with, now that Coach Destiny Rogers is kind of, obviously the leader of the forefront there for the coaching job, at what point does that really start to affect the morale and to where, you're like, okay, well, maybe if these were done different, or maybe if, Coach Rogers wasn't in this position, maybe it would be a better season. At what point do those questions start to arise and we see sort of a clear answer here late in the season?
Well, my thing is when Coach Rogers got moved up to the head coach spot, it's like it lit a spark under the team. You know, I really thought they were going to buy into it and really, you know, work around her, work her offense, keep doing what they're doing. But it's now, you know, we lose a couple games, it's like they're just shutting down. I mean, for someone to enter the transfer portal mid-season, that really kind of like jabs at your team, showing like someone who you trusted from the beginning of the season, last season, just gets up and leaves mid-season, quits on them. I get maybe she came here for the last coach, and he's gone now, and I get she may want to transfer, but that's something you do after the season. You don't do that mid-season, because not only does that kind of like really hurt your reputation from your team's eyes, it affects your former teammates who you really brought a bond, a family with, and it kind of hurts their morale.
Right, Cooper, and you know, not only that, but it also points a lot of fingers at Coach Rogers. Maybe some people are starting to say, okay, what's she not doing right? What is maybe she not doing that the last coach did right that all these players want to play for? I mean, don't get me wrong. I have been a fan of Coach Rogers ever since she became the interim head coach. I will continue being a fan of Coach Rogers for the rest of the season. If she gets hired, great. If she doesn't, she goes somewhere else, I'll still be a fan of her because she knows what she wants. She knows how to coach these ladies to victory, and she knows what it takes to win. But Cooper, you know, it just boils down to the fact of the matter is that, okay, sure, she got put in a crappy situation when, you know, the last coach left and it was kind of mid-season and a lot of the girls kind of got a spark and started fighting for it. But at what point do you buy in and maybe, I don't know, think, okay, this is the team that we're going to run with and this is the team that we're going to run the Sun Belt with the coming years. But Cooper, you know, before we get too carried away, we're going to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back here on ASU-TV for Red Wolf Roundtable.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. And now we go into the Super Bowl, the game of all games, the granddaddy of them all. No, it's not the Rose Bowl, it's the Super Bowl. And we had a great one. Rams, Bengals, Joe Shiesty, Matty Ice, and, you know, we got Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Eminem for the halftime, and it was a great game.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, you talk about the next episode, and, man, that was a Super Bowl that you won't be able to forget for a long time. I mean, you saw Joe Burrow. He had a great game, but the question came back to bite him. He has no offensive line. When will Cincy get him an offensive line? The second you get him an offensive line, you get a Super Bowl. Because if you go back and look at that last play where Aaron Donald gets a sack, you had Jamar Chase about 30 yards outside who beat Jalen Ramsey because Jalen Ramsey's just playing garbage. But, you know, going back to the Super Bowl and looking at that last drive for the Los Angeles Rams where Cooper Kupp got the game-winning touchdown, you put anybody, and I mean anybody, you could put Betty White, God rest her soul, on Cooper Kupp and he does not get that touchdown. Eli Apple is the worst defensive back in NFL history, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he sits in the free agent market come next season because he is that bad.
Well, I guess he didn't eat his Snickers before the game because he wasn't, well, I mean, I guess he did because he was crap like normal. But, I mean, it came down to, like you're saying, the O-line. I mean, last play of the game, Joe Burrow didn't even have a chance to hit his wide-open, go-to gritty guy. Downfield, Jalen Ramsey on his face for an open touchdown that would have caused chaos. But it was just one of those games. Aaron Donald also came out and said that might be his last game.
Right. I mean, not to mention a lot of those people said that it might be their last game. But, you know, you just kind of look at the stats for a second and just really understand what went wrong for each team. You know, you see the final score, 23-20 for the Rams, the total yards. The Rams had 313 yards. 43 of those rushing, 270 of those passing. You know, that's really where the Bengals struggled early and late was the passing yards. And, you know, they had a lot of first downs, 18 to the Bengals 15. Their third down efficiency, you see, obviously, that's really what won the game for the Rams is the Bengals went 3 for 14 and the Rams went 6 for 15. I mean, sure, it's not barely any better than the Bengals, but especially when it came down to the red zone. The red zone for the Rams, they were perfect, 3 for 3. And the Bengals, they only went 1 for 3 because, you know, they went try to be ballsy and they went for it on fourth down a lot of times when maybe they should have kicked it or maybe they should have got rid of the ball. But, you know, really, you just got to think. There wasn't a lot of penalties in that game because, honestly, watching the game, it felt like the time that the game was just going by. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you really got to look at it and you got to go back and really understand what this game meant to both teams. You go back and you think about the Rams, Matthew Stafford, his first Super Bowl, and he really wanted to show everybody that he has what it takes, and he's always had what it took to win the big game. But, you know, it came to a certain little play where a receiver from Louisiana State University, Odell Beckham Jr., had a little cut across the field, went to catch it, went down, held his knee. We find out later, and I think this may have been a day later that the rumors were confirmed to be true, is that Odell Beckham Jr. tore his ACL again. Now, you know, a lot of people think that maybe Odell's going to retire now that he tore his ACL again. But you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say Odell, he's going to come back in about a year and he's going to be better than ever. He may win an MVP, maybe not, but he may win another Super Bowl, and he's just going to be one of those guys that, you know, you're always going to wonder, you know, hey, the injuries may have derailed him for a little bit, but when he came back stronger than ever. And, you know, at the end of the game when Odell was sitting there in tears, that really made you understand the narrative that he had coming out of New York, coming out of Cleveland, that Odell really was a premier receiver. But Cooper, what else can you really say about the Super Bowl?
I mean, first off, Cooper must be good luck because Cooper Kupp, Super Bowl MVP, not Cooper Melder, Cooper Kupp. He had a great game. He had 2 touchdowns, you know, really. Matthew Stafford went, you know what, final drive, we need the score. He went to his main go-to guy he had all year, Cooper Kupp, and look at the stats. They tell it for himself.
Right. I mean, Cooper Kupp doesn't win the MVP if Matthew Stafford does not throw those 2 early interceptions. If Matthew Stafford doesn't throw those 2 early interceptions, you know, regardless of how good Kupp played, you know, he's an underrated receiver, I mean, obviously, but I honestly think Matthew Stafford should have won that MVP award. I mean, it's up for debate. You take away the 2 interceptions, and maybe Stafford wins it. You add a couple more tackles here and there early in the first half, maybe Aaron Donald wins the MVP. But regardless of that, Cooper Kupp, great game. He came through when the Rams needed him most. He caught the game-winning touchdown because he was guarded by nobody but Casper the Ghost. And it just really shows to you that big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games.
I mean, Cooper Kupp, he came out, you know, really – I thought Odell, before he went down, I was like, okay, the way he's playing, there's no way Odell doesn't win MVP. Odell goes down, and the offense just stops. And I was like, when's Cooper Kupp going to get going? I mean, we haven't really seen him since his first touchdown, and he's been quiet. Well, lo and behold, final drive. He really found his stride there late in the game. You know, the defense came up big for the Rams, kept them in it, gave them momentum, and Cooper Kupp did Cooper Kupp's things and won the MVP.
Right, but you know, real quick, that really was the story of the game. Who was going to find their premier target first? Burrow wasn't able to find Chase till late in the game. Stafford wasn't able to find Kupp till late in the game. But, you know, regardless of that, Cooper, it was an exciting Super Bowl last week. We had a great time calling it on Madden. You know, shout out to the engineers and everybody that made that possible for us to do here on Red Wolf Roundtable. But, you know, real quick, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some more A-State sports. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back on Red Wolf Roundtable.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Play Eric Amarola's Race Day Mix.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Let's be real, getting a flu shot
Helps you
fight the flu. Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
Welcome back, everybody, to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. And you know, Cooper, we can't call ourselves the official sports talk show of A-State Athletics without mentioning every other sport that's not a big money sport. So, Cooper, let's take a deeper dive into some weekend sports that took on that included the A-State Athletics. So, you know, starting off, you had some bowling action when, you know, here on Twitter, they really talked about a lot of different things. As you see it on your screen now, the Red Bulls won the Lady Techsters Classic over Louisiana Tech 4-3. They went 11-1 for the event, earning 6 wins over top 10 teams. And, you know, shout out to Faith Welch and Sarah Sains on the all-tournament teams. And, Cooper, what an exciting time it was for anybody that's a fan of bowling or anybody on that bowling team to really go there and beat Louisiana Tech.
Well, bowling really, I gotta say, shout out to my grandpa watching at home from Benton. He was on the bowling team back when he came here at Arkansas State, so shout out to him real quick. But, you know, bowling, coming from Cabot, that was really what won us championships, and looks like, from the looks of this, it looks like the ladies bowling team here they're looking amazing.
Right, Cooper. I mean, you said it yourself, you know, back at Cabot, the ladies bowling team were really terrific. They won a lot of state titles. It seemed like every other year they were winning the state titles. But, you know, little Cabot lingo real quick. It's better than Bryan or North Little Rock winning the state championship.
Yes, and, you know, I hope the women's can go on and do great things and finish out the bowling season. And, you know, this weekend at Hijinks, they'll be there.
Yeah, I mean, they got another event coming up at Hijinks this weekend. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to come see some exciting bowling that features the Red Wolves, go down to Hijinks here in Jonesboro, Arkansas, a.k.a. J Vegas, and cheer on the Lady Red Bulls when we, you know, get some more dubs in the bowling game. But, you know, regardless of that, Cooper, it's about your favorite time of the year. Baseball season is right around the corner. And you know what? it's just about that time to where a lot of people start paying attention to college baseball. College baseball, for those of you who don't know, are one of the under the radar sports that really come to fruition in college athletics. You know, you hear about college football, you hear about college basketball, but you never hear about college baseball. You know, it was announced this year that a lot of these games are going to be on ESPN and ESPN Plus, Cooper. So what are you excited for this year when it comes to the A-State Red Wolves baseball team?
Well, obviously, I'm glad that there's more games on ESPN this year, because used to, if you try to keep up with college baseball, it was almost impossible unless you followed it on Twitter, because, you know, ESPN never promoted it. But I'm glad ESPN's finally promoting it. And, you know, I'm really excited to see what this A-State men's baseball team can do, because, you know, we have a couple guys that we know that's on the team. And A-State baseball isn't talked about here at Arkansas State. So I'm glad it's coming up. I'm glad they're going to get the viewership they deserve, because every sport deserves time on TV in college. So let's check out the preseason poll here. In Arkansas State, they're predicted to finish last in the conference. You know, that should light a fire under them.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, that was one of the things, you know, I was kind of talking about with different people before the show. And, you know, we're predicted to be dead last, but that doesn't mean we're going to finish dead last. I mean, you see South Alabama, you see Georgia Southern and Coastal and Louisiana tied there. But, you know, it doesn't matter, because it's called preseason for a reason. It's the season before the actual season gets kicked underway. You know, this weekend we start at Sanford on ESPN Plus, so maybe it's time to show the Red Wolf fighting spirit and go out and get a dub, because, you know, we got a freshman from Cabot, Arkansas that you and I both know personally, that, you know, he's one of those guys that is able to really hit a lot of home runs, and he's able to do a lot of things. He played football. You know, Cooper, you should know who I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Kyler Carmack, he was one of those guys that you didn't leave open in the football field, and when it came to baseball, you didn't want to pitch just a wheelie pitch over the plate, because he was going to knock that thing out 9 times out of 10. But, Cooper, just looking at this exciting baseball season, you know, we got a lot of games coming up, a lot of triple headers, double headers here and there, you know, back to back to back to back every other weekend. And, you know, it boils down to what we saw during basketball season that I don't want to see happen during baseball season is I want every student, if you're not doing something super important that weekend, to come out to the baseball fields and cheer on your Red Wolves, because not only do they deserve it, but it's going to make for an experience that you'll never forget when it comes to college athletics. Fans make the game better. The players play better when they have their home fans. It's called home field advantage for a reason. So come on out and support your Red Wolves, Cooper. Other than that, you know, you got to look at this baseball season, exciting baseball season. What are your expectations for this baseball team this year?
Well, I know my expectation, they're not going to finish dead last. Whoever made that poll up, I need to have a talk with them real quick, because that's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. But, you know, I'm excited to experience. I've never really watched the team. I've never really seen them before. So I'm excited to go out games, really see the players, see what they do, see all the hard work they finally put in the offseason, go to what they need to do to win. And so I'm excited to watch them as a new fan here at Arkansas State, new fan of the Red Wolves baseball team. So that's what I'm most excited about, just seeing a new team, seeing new players, just seeing kids out there and winning games. And like Tristan was saying, go to the games on weekends. There's nothing you're doing possible more important than watching college baseball. Go to the games. You'll have a blast. Sit there, sing with Tristan and I in 7th inning stretch. You may need some earplugs, but you'll have a good time.
Well, Cooper, there's a reason why we're not on The Voice. And, you know, other than that, it was an exciting episode talking about some of the athletic events here at the Arkansas State University. But regardless of that, Cooper, it's been an exciting episode. We want to thank everybody for tuning in for this week on Red Wolf Roundtable. But for that being said, I'm Tristan Carlin.
And I'm Cooper Melder.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you guys next time.